Hi, welcome to this question, which is for Leetcode 1 2 sum. This question uses the technique of 2 pointers. For this question, you're given an array of numbers and a target value, and what you want to do is to see if there are 2 numbers in the array that add up to the target value. And if you find those 2 numbers, return the indices for those 2 numbers. If we take a quick look at the example that Leetcode gives you, if you have the array 2, 7, 11, and 15, and your target is 9, you'll be able to reach that if you can add the value at the 0th index and the 1st index. And that's what your answer will be here. The second example I give you is if you had an array that has values that perhaps are not ascending in order like we had in the first example. So here we have 3, 2, and 4, and the target is 6. And your answer is going to be 1 and 2 because those are the index values of the numbers that give you what you want. If we take a really quick look at the code, basically what you want to do is you want to create a hash or a map over here that allows you to store the numbers and indices that you've seen already. For the sake of clarity, I've declared a complement variable, which you often will not see in the final code that people do because you don't necessarily need to have it. I think it makes the explanation more clear if we do have it. Then what you want to do is you want to loop through this particular array, and when you do that, you can take note of the current value. Again, this is something you don't necessarily have to have, but it makes it more clear when we're doing this explanation. And then here we see that we use the complement that we talk about. So you do that really quick calculation, and then you check to see if the map or the hash contains that particular complement. If it does, you look inside the hash for the value stored at the complement, which will have the array index and the current array index, and you just return that. And that's going to be your final answer. Now, if you do not find that, what you do is in that map or hash, you store with the current value, which you calculate up here, and you store the value of the index for which you're currently at. So if we take a really quick walkthrough of the first example, we should see how this works. First, let's take a look at our array where I've indicated the array, the target, and the indices for which we want to talk about. And for each iteration through a for loop, we want to look at the variables that we care about and the start and end state of our map. And when I equals 0, we see that the value for that is going to be 2. And so we mark that over here in our variable side. The complement is going to be 7 because 9 minus 2 is 7. Of course, in the beginning, the map does not have anything inside of it. So at the end, what you have is you store a map of 2, and the value is going to be the current index, which is 0. So obviously with that, you don't have an answer. So we're going to move on to the next step. When I equals 1, the value we see is going to be 7, and its complement will be 2. Now, what it's going to do now is it's going to look inside of the map and see if it contains the complement of 2. And we'll see that it does, of course. So what we're going to do is we're going to return an array. The array is going to look for this map and the value stored at complement, which we know is 2. And we see that value is going to be 0, right? Because that value is 0, that's the first one. And then we see what the value is at I, and we know that I, right now, is at 1. So we return 1. That will be your answer. For this particular problem, and for many array problems, you ideally want to look for a runtime that is at least as fast as big O of n. And you achieve that because you can find what you want if you just loop through the array once. So that's how you solve the question for Leetcode 1 to sum. Thank you.